Last time, Odysseus blinded the Cyclops and escaped with his life. But he could not keep his mouth shut. He shouted his own name across the water, and the monster prayed to his father, the god of the sea, to curse him. Now Poseidon is hunting him across the world. Tonight, the story goes on. A floating island, a bag full of storms, a harbor of giants who eat men, and a witch in a house in the woods who turns sailors into pigs. Come back to the fire. The first island they came to was a strange one. It floated on the sea, ringed by a wall of unbroken bronze. It belonged to Aeolus, the man the gods had made keeper of the winds. He welcomed Odysseus warmly and feasted him for a whole month. And when it was time to go, he gave him a parting gift, a great bag made from the hide of an ox, and inside it he had bound up every storm wind that blows. He tied it shut with a bright silver cord and left only the gentle west wind free to carry them home. Nothing could go wrong now. For 9 days and 9 nights they sailed, and the west wind never failed. And on the 10th day, they saw it. Ithaca, their home, so close they could see the little fires of men moving on the shore. After 10 years, they were home. And Odysseus, who had not slept once in all those 9 days, who had held the sail rope in his own hands the entire time, finally let his eyes close. And that was when his men began to whisper. "Look how the king is rewarded," they hissed. "Gold and silver from Aeolus hidden in that bag, and nothing for us." So they opened it. They loosened the silver cord, while their home lay there on the horizon, and every storm in the world burst out at once. The sea stood up. A shrieking gale caught the ship and threw it, hurling them back the way they had come, over all that hard-won distance, in a single screaming night. When Odysseus woke, Ithaca was gone. They were back at the floating island. He begged Aeolus for help just once more. But the old man's face had turned to stone. "Get off my island," he said. "A man the gods hate this much, I will not touch." And he sent them away. They rowed on, heartbroken, until they came to a land of tall cliffs and a narrow harbor, still as glass. All 11 ships rowed in through the gap and moored together in the calm water. All but one. Odysseus, always careful, tied his own ship to a rock outside, on the open sea. It saved his life, because this was the country of the Laestrygonians. And they were not men. They were giants. When the scouts reached the town, the queen was as tall as a mountain, and her husband, the king, simply picked one of them up and made his supper of him. The alarm went up, and the giants came, thousands of them, to the top of the cliffs. And they did not fight. They just picked up boulders, rocks no human could lift, and they threw them down into the crowded harbor. The sound was the cracking of hulls and the screaming of men. They speared the bodies in the red water like fish and carried them home to eat. In that trap, in a few minutes, 11 ships died. Only Odysseus, moored outside, hacked through his own mooring rope with his sword and screamed at his men to row. One ship, out of 12, one ship crawled away. All the rest were gone. The one ship sailed on, carrying men who had watched their brothers die, and came at last to a green and silent island. Yea, they were afraid of it, and rightly so. Odysseus sent a party inland to scout, and in a clearing they found a house of polished stone, with smoke rising gently from it, and prowling around it lions and wolves. The men froze, waiting to be torn apart, but the beasts did not attack. They came up wagging and fawning and rubbing against them, gentle as dogs by a hearth, which was the most frightening thing of all, because these beasts had once been men. Inside, a woman was singing, walking back and forth at a great loom, weaving something shimmering and endless. Her name was Circe, and she was a witch, a daughter of the sun. She opened her door and smiled and invited the sailors in, and they were so tired and so hungry that they went. She sat them down and fed them cheese and honey and wine. But she had mixed a drug into the food to make them forget their homeland completely. And when they had eaten, she took out her wand and she touched them, and they became swine, pigs, with the heads and the bodies and the voices of pigs, weeping and driven squealing into a filthy sty. Only their minds stayed human. That was the cruelty of it. They knew. One man had not gone in. Eurylochus had waited outside, suspecting a trap, and he saw it all through the door. He ran back to the ship, so stunned with horror he could barely speak, and he told Odysseus. And Odysseus took up his sword and his bow, and he went, alone, to that house, to save his men or die with them. But on the forest path, a young man met him. It was the god Hermes in disguise. "She will do the same to you," the god warned, "unless you are protected." And he pulled from the ground a small plant, with a black root and a milk-white flower. "The gods call it moly. Eat this," he said, "and her magic cannot touch you. And then, do exactly as I tell you." So Odysseus ate the herb, and went in, and let her feed him. She struck him with the wand, and said, "Now go to the sty with the others." And nothing happened. He stood there, unchanged, and drew his sword. Circe fell to her knees in terror, because it had been prophesied that the one man her magic failed to hold would be the one she could not defeat. She swore a great oath to do him no harm, and she turned his men back from pigs into men, younger and taller than before. And she kept them there, in comfort, for 1 full year. But when at last they begged to go home, her face grew dark. "There is a journey you must make first," she said. "Before you can ever go home, Odysseus, you must sail to the very edge of the world and go down into the land of the dead. And that is where we leave him tonight. Subscribe to the Dark Hearth and return to the fire."